The Queen of Granada, by M. Riff. Chapter 155, The Skeletons. Rita could understand that the man was panicked. It was not surprising. Anyone in his situation would be scared. He pulled out his gun and fired wildly around. Rita realized that she too was in danger. Backlit, the man could easily aim at her. The antiques dealer and his henchman, leaning through the opening over Rita, though unable to grab her, had also realized it. Therefore, they began to shout frantically, "Shoot her! Shoot her down!" Rita could easily imagine that those above her might also start shooting at her. She hurried down the stairs to seek safety in the darkness below. With her school bag on her back and damp and slippery steps under her feet, she was on the verge of slipping and rolling down time and time again. But she managed to avoid it and put the last step behind her. Meanwhile, the man below continued to cry out like a frightened child. Upstairs in the kitchen, the antique dealer tried to convince the other man to go into the underground catacombs to retrieve the book. But the man replied firmly, "I can't do it. We don't even have a flashlight." The antiques dealer reached into his leather bag and pulled out 2 night vision goggles, handed them to him and said, "Here, take them, one for you and one for him down there. They're much more efficient than flashlights." As the man started to put the goggles on, the antique dealer rushed to warn him, "Don't use them here, the amplified light will blind you." Rita and the boys used to borrow their parents' cars when they weren't at home to drive them around in a nearby rally track. This could only be done at night, when the track was empty, and they had to drive without headlights to avoid attention. The boys had noticed Rita's unique ability to steer the car even in total darkness, thanks to her extraordinarily sharp night vision. This skill gave her a significant advantage in the pitch-black catacombs down there. She tried to sneak past the man, who was on his knees, holding the gun with both hands, pointing it in desperation in random directions. At first glance, the place resembled one of the underground caves she had seen in her geography book, but without the stalactites or stalagmites. It was cold and damp, and in some places, water was dripping from the high ceiling. The catacomb, stretching into darkness on both sides, was much wider than the narrow streets in her neighborhood, where 2 cars could barely pass each other. The walls were carved like shelves, and bones of the same size were neatly arranged, like items in a supermarket. Some of the skeletons were complete, with hair, hats and clothes. They sat against the wall as if resting to get up and walk again. They were probably the unfortunate people who had come down there, got lost and had lost hope of finding a way out again. They had given up, sat down in the dark and waited for death. Suddenly, Rita accidentally stepped on a rib bone, which snapped like a twig. Instantly, the man turned towards the sound, pulled the trigger, and cried out in fear, "Who's there? Stay away from me. Go away." A bullet whizzed past her leg and embedded itself in one of the skulls on the wall. She quickly moved away from the line of fire, realizing that luck might not favor her next time.